My remarks, and I'd like to ask unanimous consent to speak as if in morning business,
objection,
will be on the subject of our carbon pollution and the damage that we are doing to our world. As I try to point out every week, last week I was not able to, but Senator Kerry gave a wonderful, marvelous, very, very compelling speech on this subject. So we've kept the floor busy every week between the two of us, and I hope other senators will more and more join us. This is an issue that we have to address, and it is a disgrace, frankly, that this is one of the very few buildings in this country in which climate denial is still happening wholesale. Here in the boardroom of ExxonMobil, I think, are probably the two holdout locations. I wanted to address a few things that have happened this week, but I wanted to begin by correcting an error that I made in remarks last week when I came to the floor and spoke in favor of EPA's mercury and air toxic standards for power plants. This is very, very important to Rhode Island, as we are a downwind state, as is a good deal of New York, bombarded by Midwestern power plants that, frankly, deliberately send polluted air up into the atmosphere through high smokestacks so that it will land elsewhere. Well, guess what? We're the elsewhere. We were then about to vote on a resolution that would have voided these standards and put Rhode Island at considerable peril. It would have actually gone so far as to bar EPA from ever issuing a substantially similar rule. So it would really have had a lasting as well as a damaging effect. It was a reckless proposal, and I am pleased that we defeated it here in the Senate. During my remarks about this rule, I discussed the health hazards that mercury pollution poses for the people of my home state of Rhode Island. The pollution that comes out of these tall smokestacks, very often with no scrubbers of any kind, just spews right out, and it comes to Rhode Island in the form of a number of things. Ozone that causes us to have bad air days, where children and people with breathing difficulties and old folks have to stay indoors. They are basically kept prisoner indoor because out-of-state polluters won't clean up their act. And the other is mercury. And mercury poisoning is a very serious issue in my state. Last week I said that the Rhode Island Department of Health warns that high-risk populations, pregnant women, women who may become pregnant, and small children should not eat any freshwater fish in Rhode Island because of the danger of mercury poisoning and mercury contamination. That is sadly correct. I also said that the health department warns that no one should ever eat any of the fish caught in 3 bodies of water in Rhode Island: the Quidnick Reservoir, Wincheck Pond, and Yawgoog Pond. That, sadly, is also true. Finally, I said that the health department suggests that anyone who catches freshwater fish in Rhode Island should limit their intake to 1 serving of this fish a month, so as to protect their health from mercury contamination. In fact, it's more nuanced than that. The health department has issued different warnings for the general population depending on the body of water. So it is not always true that anyone who catches freshwater fish in Rhode Island should limit their intake to just 1 serving, and I'd like to correct the record accordingly. I would suggest that Rhode Islanders consult the health department's website, where the agency lists fish advisories by pond and by river, and that way Rhode Islanders can make an informed decision for themselves and their families as to where and when our fish are safe to eat for mercury contamination. It does not obviously change the larger point that mercury contamination is a continuing public health problem in Rhode Island, and one that we can do very little about without EPA standing up for us and defending us, because in these other states it is a great deal for them to be able to poison our state's waters but get cheaper power in their states because they don't force their utilities to put scrubbers on and to keep themselves operating at appropriate levels of pollution control.